Can I get a sound check from someone? Oh, I wish it was that easy if I could just make you robo-whales. I really do. Good. All right then, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sensei Kevlar. Today I'm here to talk to you about the mindset required for automation. Up until now, we have been building mindsets. Mindsets have led to strategizing. Strategizing has led to planning, and planning has led to profitability. I'm going to just break that down one more time because it's important that we all remember how we got here. The idea behind technical analysis is that technical analysis can provide us with clues as to what the market might do next. Based upon these clues, like resistance and support, we can form predictions about the market, which we can use to better inform our strategy. By better informing our strategy, we can plan for profitability. And by planning for profitability, we can enter into trades safely, sanely, and with the assurance that this is actually going to work out in our favor long term. And the way that we do that is we compute very carefully, starting with on paper, how to be profitable. Now, the act of computing on paper how to be profitable often yields a lot of insight, and that's why I have you do it on paper first. Because it's critical that you understand the fundamental conditions under which these strategies get executed. So that's what we're going to start with today. We're going to start with the idea of conditional thinking. And the idea is that what we want to do is we want to build up a set of mindsets that will allow us to take any strategy and break it down into its core components, which then we can look for ways to automate. I talked a lot about automation. Gunbot is a perfect tool for automation. What it does is it allows you to take small pieces of your strategy, plug them into the bot, and then have the bot execute on those strategies. And the way that bots work is they think in terms of conditions. So let's take an example of a condition and how we might think about automating our strategy in terms of conditions. In the first set of analysis that we did, we set up a series of rules to where when we reach certain levels within the market, we define certain behaviors for ourselves. The most obvious of these behaviors is the profit behavior. When a position becomes profitable, we want to sell it. So this is the beginning of the thinking of automation. What ways can we break down the problem of selling at a profit in order to automate it? Well, there's actually a couple different ways of thinking about this. One of the most obvious ways of thinking about it is in terms of a strict straight percentage. If we're here in the market, everything below here is unprofitable, everything above here is profitable, and then what we can do is we can just decide by percentage how much profit we're really looking for. Here's 3% right here. If we're only looking for 3% profit, then the market only has to move up from right here, 3%. However, if we're looking for 10, 11% or 10% profit, then the market needs to move up this amount right here. This is really trivial to program for automation. And that's what I really want you to start thinking in terms of, is if this becomes true, then I perform this action. If my profit line goes above the 10% mark, then I perform this action. Once we have been able to break down this strategy into this singular task, we can take the macro planning. We're going to be, macro planning, and we're here. We're saying we're going to be here in this level, and we want to be 10% profitable. And if we're here in the market, and we know that the next buy-in point is where? Well, it's 38% below our current position. Well, we just programmed our strategy from a conditional standpoint. This is the beginning of automation. What I did is I said, we are here in the market, and I'm basically going to test for two conditions. The first condition that I'm going to test for is, are we below 38% of where we were at this price point? This is our price point. This is the 38% mark below, which happens to be a Fibonacci retracement. Are we at 38% of lower than where we started? If so, activate a buy entry. Now, what activating a buy entry does is it causes your position to pivot. If you were here in the market, you are now here in the market. And what that looks like is that looks like this coming down. And now we can see a new range where we're profitable. This is the place where we're profitable. Everything below this line is unprofitable, and everything above this line is profitable. Well, what happened here? When we brought this down, we were here, and we brought this down to this line. We brought our price point down to this line. What we did is we dollar cost averaged our price pivot down with a buy entry on this line right here, which brought our profit pivot down to here. And look at what this did. This automatically informed our next buy entry. Where is our next buy entry? Well, it's just below the 38.6% mark of our new position. Okay? So could we do this over and over again? Could this be as simple as our strategy gets? Yeah, basically. This really could be the simplicity of our strategy. Let's see how we can make this work and start layering this on top of more of our strategy. Another aspect of our strategy was that we wanted to schedule our selling over a certain amount of time. Well, let's take a look at what happens here, okay? Is right here, if we're doing a double up and we just buy our double up, then we come right on down, okay? But let's say that we're already 4 positions deep, and down here, we're going to be doing 1, 2, 3, 4 buys across the next 4 days. Well, what that would do is on the first buy, that would bring it down a quarter of the mark. And on the second buy, that would bring it down a quarter of the mark. And on the third buy, that would bring it down a quarter of the mark. And on the fourth buy, that would bring it down a quarter of the mark. Okay? Well, look at what happened. All I did was with each buy, I recomputed where my next buy needed to happen. So if I was waiting for it to come down to this mark right here, and my conditional said that I needed to come 36%, that's what I'm looking for. My conditional said that I needed to come down 36% from my current price and do a buy entry. If I'm already 4 positions deep and I do 1 buy entry, well, I'm going to come down 1 quarter. Well, look at what happened to my new buy target. It came down too. So what that means is that my automation is no longer going to buy right here. it's now going to buy down here at the new location. Let's make this a little bit bigger. It's not going to buy down here. So let's say that the market comes, and what it did is initially it did, we were here, and initially it did this motion here. Initially it did this motion right here. This triggered our buy signal. This bought our position down, but it bought it down one position of 4 that we're trying to target here, because we're at 4 positions and we're trying to double up. So it brought it down a quarter of the way. What that means is that the next buy signal for our entry is now down here. The market comes down to here, we buy here. What does that do? Brings us down 1/5, because we now have 5 positions. It brings us down 1/5. That brings our new entry point down to here. Bring the new entry point down to here, market comes down, we buy, we now bring our position down by 1/6. Why? Because we had 5 positions and we're buying 1. 1/7, 1/8, 1/9, 1/10, with smaller increments until I now have 8 positions and I'm down here. Well, that's what I was trying for. That was the strategy I was trying to execute. I was trying to go from here to here by doubling up. Instead, what I did is I went from here to 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 here by triggering that order here, 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 and here. All I did was I used my conditional logic to push my buy signal down. My conditional logic was based upon my profit or my next buy signal. This pattern right here is the basis of how you automate, is you think in terms of a conditional entry. What conditions can I program for my entry that would allow me to consistently execute a set of conditional strategies that would actually execute my schedule? Well, there's another part of this, right? Let's say that the market is just coming down and coming down and coming down and coming down and coming down. We don't want to necessarily be buying every single time the market comes down, okay? So what we need to do is we need to layer an additional conditional into our strategy. In addition to saying that we need the market to come down, 38.6%, 38.6%, or whatever it is that we want to come down, 35%, whatever it is we're going to target, is what backtesting is about. In addition to saying that we're only going to buy when we reach here, we're also going to say that we're only going to buy when we reach here if we have not bought in the past 24 hours. Okay? So, let's say that we configure Gunbot to buy, or any automation, to buy one entry at the 38% loss mark. And then we say, that's it. That's all you're going to do, Gunbot, is you're going to buy 30, you're going to buy, I'm going to fire up my automation, and my automation is going to check, is it time to do a buy entry yet? Doing a buy entry is going to bring my whole system down, bring this whole range down. Here's going to be my new buy entry, and then just Gunbot's going to die. It's going to go off, and I'm not going to launch it again for another day. This would fulfill my schedule. Is if I only made this conditional check once per day, do I buy? Yes. Do I buy? Yes, because we're below. Do I buy? No, because we're not below. And then we wait for the next day. This means if we fire it up on this day, this means we do buy. Our whole system comes down. Now we need to modify our plan. Instead, if we're here and the market hasn't come down far enough yet, our conditional is not true, and our automation does not trigger. This is the heart of automation. If you cannot break down your strategy yourself, if you cannot take it and devise a situation, a set of conditionals, which you can program your automation for, you cannot use automation. It isn't until you fundamentally understand the nature of your conditional strategy and are able to take your strategy, break it down into conditionals, that's when we can start to use automation. Let's take a look at another form of automation here. When we are here, let's take another example. We're going to come up to here. We're going to say we do our buy entry here. We're going to target 15%. Here's our automation running. Our automation comes down and he sees this entry, or he sees this entry right here, and he realizes that it's time to buy. Now, one opportunity is just go ahead and have the automation insert the buy entry into the market for us through automation. The way that this works is that the exchanges have an API, and then you point the automation at the API using your API key, and the automation does the entry for you. But if the automation knows that the market is in fact moving down, why would we have the automation put in the order here when we know that it would be better to put in the order here? Or more to the point, can we have our automation wait to put the order in down here and have the order come in down here? Again, we need to think in terms of a conditional strategy for accomplishing this. If our buy entry is here, one option is to just go ahead and place the order. Another option is to set up a new conditional. Let's come back to that long position signal again. What if we were to modify this long position signal just a little bit? What we could do is, instead of treating this as, we have one long position and this is showing us our entry signal. Here's our entry signal, is when we reach this conditional, this becomes our entry signal. What we can do instead is we can use another form of this to think about how to condition our entry. This is called the stop limit order. And the way it works is as follows. Is we say this is the range that we want the market to go ahead and move in. Okay? When the market, if we're going to start here, and then the market comes down to here, we're going to start here and the market is going to come down to here, we are going to chase the market down. If the market is here, we start here and then the market comes down to here, and then the market comes down further, we cause this thing to push our signal downward. As the market comes down and it pushes this thing downward, our whole signal moves downward. Okay? Then eventually the market comes back up and it crosses this threshold again. This would activate our buy signal. So let's see how this worked. Is initially, if we had just done the buy signal right here and we had blindly bought, it would have just gone ahead and bought. But instead, if we activate the stop limit signal here, and the stop limit signal allows the market to move in either direction, and then when the market moves to one of the extremes of the stop limit, it pushes the stop limit down. And then when it moves back to the other extreme, we activate our buy order. So let's try this a little bit. When we come down here and we come back up here, now we activate our buy order down here. So let's say that we were really activating this somewhere in this candle right here. This is where we are in the market. and we activate our signal, and then the market comes down. And then the market comes down even more. This pushes down our conditional entry down to here. Then the market comes back up again. Our stop limit order activates, and this becomes our buy entry at this level. Now, if we had just done the blind entry at this level, we would have just done the blind entry at this level. But because we caused our conditional to push down our buy entry, look at how far on this wick we might have potentially pushed this buy entry down from here. This was the dumb buy entry. And as the wick rapidly moved downward, it pushed this buy entry all the way down to here. And then when the market came shooting back upward, it activated our buy signal right here. Dumb buy entry, stop limit buy entry. Same thing works on the sell entry. It's exactly the same, except in this case, we're moving upwards. Let's say that we activated our profit-taking signal. Here's our profit-taking signal right here, and we're going to activate our profit-taking signal, okay? Except what we're going to do is we're going to use a stop limit order on our profit-taking. Here's where we want to start thinking about taking profit, and then here's where the market moves up to. And then the market moves up to here. Well, what that does is that conditionally moves our sell signal up to here. Then the market comes up more and gives us more profit and more profit. Finally, the market comes back down, and this becomes our activated sell signal. Initially, our dumb profit taking was going to happen here at the 6.3% mark. Because we allowed our stop limit to push our sell signal upward, our 6.3% profit became a 36% profit. Just by automating one thing, we went from a 6% profit to a 36% profit. This automation is available on just about every exchange. It's called the stop limit order. And the way it works is you put in your order and you say just how much you want it to go up and have room for running to move upward before it then comes back down and activates your buy order, your sell order, or your buy order. You can automate this right there on the exchange. Or, once you understand the conditional, once you have done this enough times, you can automate it using code. Let's take a look at another form of automation. Before we brought in the RSI, the Relative Strength Index, and we've said in the past that we really like signals that include the RSI. Well, if we're computing the RSI along with our entries here, and we're saying, well, we know we want to buy here, but maybe we also include another signal. This is the RSI being oversold. Previously, our signal was just this long position, and we're here in the market, and we're looking for it to come down. Now, if we had used this signal up here, and we were looking for this entry right here, maybe we didn't have the RSI below 25. And so the bot would have said, I'm not going to do this entry right here. I'm going to look for I'm going to go ahead and push this order out. I'm waiting for my conditional to come below this line. And in addition, I'm waiting for my RSI to go below 25, 23, 20. Here it is at 20, right? Waiting for my RSI to reach 20. What this did is this kept our conditional behavior from putting us into the market too early. So what we've got is we've got three conditionals which are all having to be true. The first conditional was that it had to have come down a certain percentage from our profit position, our profit pivot. The second conditional was that we had to have not done a buy in the past 24 hours. The third conditional was that our RSI had to have gone overbought. What we're doing is we're layering conditionals in order to build up our strategy. With every new conditional that we include in our strategy, we do one of two things. We create more opportunity for ourselves, or we exclude ourselves from opportunity. And this is the really key part of automation, is automation, when used correctly, will increase your opportunities because you will use automation to increase your opportunities in terms of your profit and your loss. If you try and use automation to do the thinking for you, if you try and say, I'm always going to buy whenever we reach this level, whenever we reach this level on the RSI, whenever I see a MACD crossing, whenever I have a Bollinger Band move out of range, whenever I see a Williams fixed indicator, I'm just going to blindly buy. You have not properly planned for profitability. Automation is a tool in a trader's tool belt, but it is not the end-all be-all tool. No amount of automation that I have described or that I have ever truly seen in my trading career would account for news right here. I don't know how to do it. I've spent my entire career trying and failing. And eventually, what I learned was that automation wasn't the right tool for the job. And this is what I really, really, really want to get across to you with regards to automation. Once you have figured out what conditions you can apply to your plan, then you can go in search of automation for that plan. Once you have figured out the right set of tools to automate with, you need to stick to the plan. And the plan needs to include changing the plan. The plan needs to include the conditions. Remember, we've been talking about conditional behavior this whole time. The plan needs to include the conditions under which the plan can change. If you are having your automation blindly double X or 4X up every time the market comes down, and then the market comes down, and then the market comes down, and you're just blindly 4Xing up, you're not using a schedule, you're not including additional indicators, you're not using a plan, you're not staying disciplined to a schedule, you're not maximizing your opportunities. Oh, you're not using stop losses or stop limits. Don't ever use stop losses. You're not using stop limits. You're not maximizing your opportunity. If you're just doing a dumb buy entry right here, and you're not waiting for the market to move around and then come down and then come down and then finally come back up and then give you your buy entry, you're not maximizing your opportunities. Automation is about maximizing opportunities. If you do not have a profitable plan, you do not have something that is worth automating. If you do not have a plan that you can break down into simple conditionals that you can control very simply, you do not have a plan that is worth automating. You need to go back to your plan and start breaking it down more in terms of conditionals. This is the mindset of a profitable trader who stays disciplined to his plan and then uses automation to maximize his opportunities through conditional behavior. Now, in our next lesson, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down how we can start programming conditional behaviors into our strategy. But for right now, it is absolutely critical that you start making a plan for your plan in terms of conditional behavior. This is where it begins. This is the wax on, wax off of automation, and it begins with making a plan. Step 1, compute our position in the market. Well, I've shown you how to do this, okay? It's total shares equals amount spent divided by number of positions. Okay? This gives us our position in the market. We know that we're here, and if we've spent 4, if we've bought 4 and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this is where we are in the market, and this is our pivot line. This is our position in the market. Above this, we are profitable. Below this, we are not profitable. That's our position in the market. 2, compute our buy and sell entry. Okay. Again, I've shown you how to do this. If we are working on the conditional of profit, then it's some amount above. If we are working on a conditional of profit, then it is some amount below. Okay, so if the current price is above X% of our profit, of our positional pivot line, activate our sell entry. If the current price is below Y% of our positional pivot line, activate our buy entry. Okay. So if we're here in the market, and this is our positional pivot line, above this we're profitable, and below this we need to start doubling up. If we are a certain percentage above, activate our sell entry. If we are a certain percentage below, activate our buy entry. Okay. 3. Okay. But what's more is we want to increase this. We want to increase our strategy. If we are above our positional pivot line and we've not, no, this is the sell, right? And we've not bought in the last 24 hours, and the RSI is below 20, activate our buy entry. Okay. Look at how our strategy is becoming conditional. If this is true, we are going to do this. If this is true, we are going to do this. We're breaking down our strategy into conditionals. Now, for our buy entry, well, it's more conditionals. Compute our buy entry, which is, what we decided is what we're going to, we already decided it was here and we've activated it. Okay. Step 2, compute our activation as, X% above our buy entry. And 3, compute our move down, our readjust. We're going to move it down as Y% below our buy entry. Okay. Now we're ready for our conditionals. If our price has come down to below our readjust line, move down the buy entry. If our price has come up to our buy entry, enter our buy order in the market. Okay. What we said is if our price has come down to below our readjust line, again, this is this is not our entry we're talking about our stop we need our stop limit, so we need to use this. If it comes down to below our buy entry, below here, we need to move this down. But if it comes up to our buy entry, then we need to place our order. This is our conditionals, okay? Same thing is true for the sell entry. So we're trying to make our profit here. We love profit. Yeah, sorry. Compute our sell entry. Compute our activation as X% below our sell entry. Compute our readjust as Y% above our sell entry. If our prices come above our readjust line, move up the sell entry. If our prices come down to below our sell entry, enter our sell order into the market. Okay. Again, this is just chasing the profit. It's chasing the market up. Here's our stop limit, and we're going to enter it here because this is where our position became profitable according to this signal right here. This is our first conditional. This green and red is our first conditional for our sell right here. No, right here for our sell entry, because it's above Y% of our positional entry. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say now we're tracking. Now we've computed our sell entry. This is our sell entry right here. This guy right here. What we're going to do is we're going to say if our prices come above our readjust line, this is our readjust line right here, then move the sell entry up. And as the market moves up, move that sell entry up. Okay. Then the market comes back down. Then the market it comes shooting back up here, and we're just pushing our sell entry up. We're pushing our sell entry up. Then the market comes back down, and we activate our sell entry right here. And now, instead of selling at the market here, we're selling at the market here. What this is this is breaking down our strategy into conditionals. And what we do with these conditionals is we take these conditionals and we look for opportunities to automate them. Opportunities to automate them require us that we are able to tell the automation what the conditional situation under which this will become automated is. You have to be able to break this down. You have to be able to say, I understand this formula, and I understand what it means when we go above this formula, and I understand what it means when we go below this formula. If I go above this formula, I'm profitable and it's time to sell. Here's our formula. If I go above, I'm profitable, it's time to sell. Here's our formula. If I go below, it's time to activate our buy entry. Here is our buy entry. Compute our buy entry, execute our conditionals. This is how we automate. If you cannot break your plan down into a series of conditionals, you cannot automate your plan. This is the mindset required for automation. Now, next lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to take these automations, these conditionals, and we're going to actually see how we can instruct the computer to recognize and tell us when these conditionals become true, and then signal us. And then we can use that signal to further inform automation. So what we're building here is we're building a signal. A signal informs automation. And we use signals to keep our automation sane and keep our automation going. The signal either tells the automation that it's time to activate a process, or the signal tells the automation that it's time to not activate a process. This is the mindset of automation. Break down your plan into individual components. Break it down into formulas that you can feed into a series of conditionals, and then execute that series of conditionals in terms of automation. Use your automation to maximize your opportunities. Now, I've shown you two really clever strategies for automation. The first really clever strategy for automation was simply buying down your position based upon a percentage. And what that does is this allows you to move your percentage, to automatically compute your next buy target as a simple percentage, as a function of your position size. This automatically tells you, because here we know that doubling up is 1, and it's just going to bring us right on down. It's going to bring us right on down to this point right here. But if we're quadrupling up, then we got to do 1, 2, 3, 4 buys to bring us on down. Well, that looked like we bought the first one here, first one here, first one here, first one here. Already, we've increased our opportunities by causing ourselves to come out of the market more, okay? What we're doing here is we're causing our positions to inform our schedule. As the market comes down and creates our opportunities for us, our schedule becomes available to us. If we have already executed on our quota for that schedule, then the automation won't kick in. But if we are hungry for a quota according to our schedule, the automation kicks in, and then we start buying again. You have to be able to do this. You have to be able to describe your plan in terms of conditionals. And the secret that I'm going to let you in on is every profitable trader learns how to do this. It's not sufficient to just buy somebody else's signals. It's not sufficient to just take somebody else's understanding of what the conditional behaviors are and use them. You must develop them yourself. You must build your strategy out and then be able to break down your strategy in terms of conditionals that you can then look for opportunities to automate. That is the way of the trader. And becoming disciplined to that, becoming disciplined to making a plan, testing the plan, breaking down that plan, and then automating that plan at every opportunity you get is what will keep you sane, right? Because it starts with us doing the manual thing. Manually, we are seeing where we need to buy and sell, and we're figuring out the different opportunities here. As we progress, what happens is we get better and better with our conditionals. We include more and more conditionals into our strategy. Well, initially, we have to be able to test these conditionals ourselves. We have to be able to say, was this a good time to sell if the RSI went to oversold? Was this a good time to sell if the RSI went to oversold? If we cannot sit here and build our strategy and test our strategy in the past and test our conditionals in the past and in the future, you have no business automating. It isn't until we can say that this automation really does faithfully execute our strategy, faithfully execute our plan, faithfully make us profitable over and over and over again, that's when we can automate. I'm teaching you to wax on, wax off. I'm teaching you sand the floor. Here's the floor, sand it. I'm teaching you paint the fence, 50-50, up, down. Because if you do not fundamentally understand how to build that strategy, break it down on paper, you will never successfully automate that strategy. I'm sure that this will lead to lots more questions and a lively discussion in the chat room, which I'm very much looking forward to. I thank you all very much for your time, and I hope this was useful to you. And remember, plan the trade, trade the plan. Thank you very much.